Just about to get started. I think the live stream still needs a little bit of work. Sorry about the delay, folks. I see Ray's Chan in chat says, "Hi, what do you mean by the end event?" You'll have to watch the panel to see. All right, it looks like the stream is working, so we can probably get started. For everyone joining us today, please settle down and take a seat on one of the carpets. Um, and yeah, let me just get the final word here.
Would you like me to go now?
One second, just getting final confirmation. All right, I got the final go ahead. Welcome everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get this panel started. This presentation is given by the GinSMP team. We got a couple of exciting people on stage to talk about their end event. So please welcome our presenters on stage. And I'll go ahead and give you the word, Gingerwoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. I just want to thank you all for, listening in to this panel. It means a lot that you guys want to learn more about our end event that we hosted, especially to people that are just hearing this for the first time. Thank you for coming. I hope this is inspiring for a lot of you, and I hope you guys just enjoy it overall. For some of you that don't know who I am, my name is Jin, aka Gingerwoman. I'm the owner of the GinSMP, and I also am a small content creator. Now, before we get into the end event itself and how we created it, I'm gonna go into more depth on about my journey as a creator and how we got to making the end event in the first place. Hold on a second. So, in October of 2025, I released my first ever TikTok video. It was also on Instagram, on YouTube, and it was discussing how I was giving myself 365 days to become a content creator. And it wasn't just me giving myself 365 days, but my family. The reason for this was because I was initially supposed to go to college, and it was only a couple weeks, after, that I was supposed to, make it to college, and I decided not to because I felt like I was going not for myself, but to make other people happy, and I felt like going to college at that moment in time was um, I wasn't gonna succeed in the way that I needed and wanted to, and I, for once in a very long time, felt truly inspired to chase my dreams. So many people inspired me, including creators, my friends, and they really pushed me to chase my dreams, so I'm very thankful for them. So through my first video is where I created my platform. Um, and I really blew up on social media. And that is what led to the creation of the GinSMP. If it weren't for you guys, my community, the people that supported me, that chose to be there, I wouldn't have made the GinSMP. The only reason why I decided to make it was because I wanted to give back to the people that helped me through my journey, that wanted to be there and support me and be by my side. And I also know that a lot of people joined because I inspired them and that they felt like my story was very relatable and they wanted to go after their own dreams. And if, you know, they felt inclined to help me on my journey because they felt the same way about their own. And yeah, it's quite beautiful. And so that being said, the end event, how it came to be. So the server, the Discord's not Discord, the Minecraft server, the GenSMP started back in December of 2025. And before that we had a test server. And on the test server at the very end of it, we decided to host a little tiny little end event, and it just consisted of a custom data pack that we found online to make the dragon fight a little more exciting, but also we also edited the actual stronghold just a little bit, and that's what started the idea of making an end event for the GinSMP final release. And so when it did get released in December, that was the moment that we started working on the end event. So what was once one small little idea turned into something totally bigger. And so the first idea when we were making the end event is we were just gonna make a custom stronghold. Nothing special, no mini games, no challenges, no custom mobs. It was just gonna be a custom built stronghold. And as time went on, we realized that we didn't need to limit ourselves. We were going to take months to do this event, and we wanted it to be truly special for our players. And so, a lot of us, this entire team, had taken the time to learn things from the ground up or relearn things just for this event. And that's why it did take longer. So, throughout this entire time that we've been working on it, we've been learning things from scratch. And the reason why we wanted to put so much time, so much energy into it is because we wanted it to not only be a celebration of the end release, but to also give back to you guys once again for supporting not only me, not only my staff team, but this server as a whole. As some of you guys may or may not know, the GinSMP is a survival multiplayer server, and it's home to many, many communities with over 9,000 players. And I am so grateful to be the one that owns it. But even though I own the server, it's the people that make it what it is. And I'm so incredibly grateful that you guys have taken the chance to build something truly beautiful. I saw it built from the ground up, and it was astonishing. And I've seen so many friendships and communities form, and it it makes me so happy that you guys and I and this team have built such a loving and positive and welcoming community for everyone. And I think honestly, us as a community, what we built together, it's beautiful. And I'm so proud of all of us. And I want to thank you all for being a part of it. It means a lot. Um, So, with that being said, the end event itself is spread out into four strongholds and separated by different groups of people. I'm not going to get too into the details. I'm going to let the rest of my team tell you the specifics if this is your first time hearing about it. But with that being said, let me introduce you to my team. So this is Psycho, my wonderful, amazing manager, also a little penguin guy. This is TheLeming, my builder, artist, and well, design. He's a lot of things. He's a lot. He does a lot. And this is Gemu, our developer. He runs the Minecraft server, but he also did all of the custom plugins for the end event. So with that being said, I'm gonna give it off to Psycho.
Completely different backgrounds. So I'm actually from the Rocket League community. I used to be an ex-professional player, and now I organise esports tournaments. But what dragged me into this incredible world was actually Jin and her community's passion as a creator. And the server is full of creative minds. So you've got editors, you've got designers, you've got nation leaders, and so on and so forth. And this end event was to give back. So essentially, what it's all about is making it fun for everyone. And when you have a server which has 9,000 people, you might expect there to be quite a significant turnout for the actual event. So we wanted to make sure it was appropriate for people who not only just wanted to get the dragon egg first, let's say, or cull the ender dragon, but also to people who aren't necessarily into PvP or that side of things. Now, when you're deep into a server's life cycle, you'll notice players kind of have everything that they might already need to succeed in the server. And so we kind of held back on releasing the end as that final opportunity, and we wanted to really go out with a bang for when we released it. So we have plenty of mini-games within the actual event itself, such as redstone mini-games, building challenges, and PvP challenges that allow people to discover the end event however they like. So essentially what's happened is we split people into teams when they join the event, and those teams are based off of people's preferences. If you like redstone, you can join the redstone team. If you like the PvP, you can join up with the people who do the PvP, and so on and so forth. And of course, this is a monumental effort from a technological standpoint in order to achieve what we've achieved, but also from a design aspect of how do we make sort of the flow of the event feel right. And all of this is just to release a dimension on the server. It's completely custom. Everything from the NPC storylines, the resource packs, the plugins, the data packs, everything is built internally by our team or our community. So we even have a sort of a back soundtrack to the entire experience, which is provided by musicians. We've got NPC storylines, which are voiced by professional voice actors within the server. And that's kind of our way of giving back. But to actually talk a little bit more about the game development side of things, I'll leave you in the very capable hands of our wonderful everything man, Lemming. Take it away.
Yeah, okay, that's me. Hello. My name's Lemming. I'm the as you heard, I'm the editor, artist, builder. In short, I'm basically the designer of the entire end event. I've worked on everything from planning to actually building and creating and bringing life to the entire event. It has always been a bit of a passion project of mine. Going into it, admittedly, I've never really had any experience working on anything of this scale. Obviously, we've worked on events in the past, and I've worked on a bunch of things server related for the GinSMP, but an event of this scale was something completely new to us. However, throughout this journey, I personally have learned quite a lot of things, not just about building, but also designing, creating resource packs, data packs, and all this technical stuff. And I'm gonna share this with you today. I'm hoping to sort of inspire some of you, maybe other content creators, maybe server owners, to start their own events. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, it won't be as vague or as big of a challenge as it was before. So let's hop right into the world of our end event. Behind me, you'll see some of the screenshots of the area we've prepared for the players. Obviously, we had to keep quite a lot of things in mind. As mentioned, we were expecting about 200 to 300 players live during the event. So there was a whole bunch of things we had to think about and had to prepare for before even building or placing anything. So the image you see in the middle is what we call the portal room. It was the main area where players would start their journey, where they would interact with the first few NPCs, where they would be introduced to the storyline of the end event. And from there, they were able to explore and to experience this awesome custom structure we've prepared for them. So after they got accustomed to the portal room, and the players have chosen their mentioned medium of Minecraft, so they had to choose between redstone, PvP, building, and parkour, whatever they feel most comfortable with. They were introduced to the actual stronghold. This is only one of those strongholds. There were a total of 4 of them. And although the themes inside didn't really match the whole thing, they were connected to special challenges that match the actual theme and the area of Minecraft expertise that the players chose. So if you notice the big colorful squares that kind of mark out the area, not only was the end event broken down into specific areas and skills of Minecraft, they were also broken down into difficulties. What this allowed for is for players to kind of choose the area, the medium of Minecraft they feel most comfortable with, and then kind of self-determine how comfortable they feel within that medium, and choose a challenge that suits them. This also helped us when it came to uh, the sort of amount of the range of players we had to deal with. Obviously, we had to think about players with fully kitted out netherite armor and all the tools they could possibly need, but we had to think about players who joined the server recently and would only be using iron or diamond armor. Um, so going from the left, the green area was the easy challenge that players could traverse through. They would encounter different kinds of enemies, and it would lead to a easy difficulty challenge. Same goes for the medium challenge. It would the difficulty of the enemies and the challenge itself would scale with the difficulty that players picked. So let's take a closer look into how the actual stronghold looked from inside out, and I'll kind of go in depth on how designing a map and creating a flow of the map is done, and how I've been able to kind of wrap my head around the entire structure. So what you'll see here is only a little snippet of the entire stronghold. This place is about 3 times the size of your normal Minecraft stronghold, but we still wanted to keep this claustrophobic, confusing layout of a standard Minecraft stronghold. I think every single one of us whoever traversed through the stronghold remember running through the same corridor 3 times and thinking like this is a new place and being super confused while walking through it. We want to recreate that exact feeling. However, what we wanted to avoid uh, was an issue that current Minecraft strongholds pose, and that's players kind of speedrunning the whole thing. We've noticed that during our first test server and event, players were able to very quickly push through the whole stronghold, either avoiding enemies or simply by digging down and going straight for the portal. Uh, so what we wanted to create with this stronghold is a more controlled flow and a more controlled progression of where the player are and how fast they can progress through the stronghold. The colored rectangles you'll see on the little map are doors we've placed in order to slow players down. So since the whole stronghold was impenetrable uh, and players couldn't break blocks, we basically eliminated one of the issues, and that's players mining through the entire thing and going straight to the actual interesting stuff. And we wanted to make sure that that progression is a bit slower and encourage a bit of this player teamwork between everyone involved. So, in order to open the different doors of different colors I've marked, players had to collect keys, which I've marked with circles on the map. You'll notice that these keys were placed in a completely different area of the stronghold, meaning that in order to pass onto the next section of the stronghold, people would have to explore different branches and essentially experience the entire stronghold. This forced us to kind of take advantage of the entire thing we've built and not waste any areas. And I can proudly say that the players did in fact go through the entire stronghold. They were forced to explore all of these areas very thoroughly. And by the end, they collected the keys and they were able to progress onto the next area and slowly progress through each door to find the challenge. So, let's talk a bit more about the challenges. That was the fun part of our event. So, the goal of the challenges and the goal of the entire stronghold was essentially making the stronghold part of experiencing the end a bit more prominent and making it a larger part of the experience. Obviously, when people think about end or opening the end on a public server, they think about defeating the dragon with their friends, lining up next to the portal, taking screenshots, stuff like that. but we wanted to make stronghold exploration and defeating the stronghold a bit more interesting. So as mentioned, we've split the whole stronghold and the whole event into different mediums of Minecraft, and all of these mediums kind of excelled in a specific fundamental of creating map design. So behind me, you'll see a bunch of screenshots from our parkours. With parkours, one of the most important things we had to pay attention to was guiding the player. Um, so going into a parkour, we wanted to make sure that players know exactly where to go. They know exactly which areas are accessible to them and which areas they are not supposed to go to. This is something a lot of builders omit quite often when designing builds for public servers. They create areas that look like they can be explorable, but then block them out with like barrier blocks, or simply make that area inaccessible in a way that's not very intuitive. So um, my goal when designing the parkours was to make sure that players who enter these areas know exactly where to go, where to look, where to jump, and where the finish is. Um, with the build challenge, it was a little different. So uh, obviously the build challenge, although the area itself in terms of building and fundamentals wasn't necessarily challenging to build, we just had to create an area for players to work on. The whole idea of the build challenge was quite interesting. It was our original idea that we came up with for this challenge. So the premise of the entire build challenge was essentially recreating a build. So behind me, you'll see all the builds organized from easy to medium to hard. Those were the builds player had to recreate with blocks they were given. But there was a small catch. Players couldn't exchange items, meaning all of the players who joined this challenge had to work with the items they were given. They couldn't drop, and they could only place items they had in their inventories, meaning they had to communicate together, work together to understand who has which items, where to place them, uh, and how to complete the entire build. And it was a really fun experience. For the actual players and for those of you who were there, they probably don't remember it quite as fondly. It was definitely the most difficult challenge, as it turned out, because the communication was really difficult in this kind of challenge. But it was a really fun idea, and we'd love to explore it for a little more in the future, I reckon. Next up are the PvP challenges. And when it came to designing the PvP maps, one of the most important things to think about, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about next, which is thinking about stuff, thinking ahead. And when designing maps for public exploration, for public servers, you always have to really think ahead. And with PvP maps, it was one of the most important things to do. We had to think about the area players would be using to actually encounter the mini bosses, since the PvP challenge was a sort of mini boss experience. People would have to defeat a little less extreme boss before moving on to the actual Ender Dragon. Uh, and in that PvP challenge, we obviously had to think about the areas that players would have to play around with, and think about the mobs that would utilize those areas as well. Meaning that the areas we prepared had to ensure that both players and NPCs, the mobs they would be fighting, wouldn't get stuck on any blocks, that the area was clear and accessible, it wasn't very cramped, and that all of it was quite open. So you'll see that pretty much all of the PvP rooms follow the same layout, with a large open area for players to fight the bosses, and some side bits and other areas that kind of served as a visual addition to the whole thing. And this allowed us to kind of combine the visual aspect of creating a map and the functionality of it, and making sure everything's accessible to the players and makes sense. And on to my favorite challenge, which was the uh, redstone challenges, which is what we also called puzzles. So for our redstone challenges, we obviously wanted to create something that would test players' redstone skills, but we decided to take a escape room approach. We created a bunch of escape rooms that players would have to solve in order to open the door and advance further. So the most difficult part in terms of the puzzles was obviously designing the puzzles themselves, mainly because each and every one of those challenges had to be different and had to suit all sorts of players. Because the idea of a redstone challenge was quite vague, we wanted to make sure that even people who aren't necessarily experts in redstone would still be able to pass through this challenge. Uh, and one of the most important things I, as the builder and designer, had to think about was player intuition. So I wanted to make sure that all these puzzles, all the challenges people will be completing inside, were as intuitive as possible and suited all sorts of players. So for example, for the easy challenge, you'll see a bunch of challenges we did with sand, where people had to stack sand to continue the redstone circuit. In the medium challenge, we've made them face a bunch of jigsaw puzzles with pistons. And in the hard challenge, it was a combination of a whole bunch of different little puzzles. Some of them included the lights out puzzle and a little boat Flappy Bird puzzle that we've coded. Uh, so when it came to making sure that players are able to pass through the challenge sooner or later, we did have hints in place to kind of guide the player through. Uh, and we've also used the skills of our voice actors to guide them through the entire stronghold, which is something I'll go over in more detail in just a second. So, moving on to the visual part of the event, and how I made it work on the artist end of it, since I also created the art and visuals of the end event. But I've also worked on implementing all of it into the actual game. So I've coded all the resource packs that were there for the actual event, which was quite a learning curve because, truthfully, before the end event, I have never made a resource pack. Uh, so going into it was definitely a challenge. I had a vague idea of how resource packs work uh, and how to create textures, but I've never actually utilized or messed around with any of it. But somewhere throughout the process, I've discovered an absolute lifesaver and something I'm gonna talk about today for those of you who are maybe not very familiar with resource packs or not only know a bit of like general stuff about resource packs. Obviously, resource packs can be used to retexture items, which is what you see at the bottom of the slide here. This colorful row of items if the custom are the custom ender eyes we've prepared for the event. Uh, but these, the little banners, displays, icons, and even custom names for our NPCs were also made using a resource pack. This is what in the actual game files is called font textures. Uh, in the actual game, in the actual Minecraft code, and using resource packs, you can retexture fonts. And although that allows you to obviously create your own custom fonts, characters, and letters, it also allows you to import icons and entire images into the game with absolute lossless compression. Meaning that we were able to display these really cool banners and all of these custom icons, and even use custom nicknames for our NPCs using custom font textures. So if you're a texture designer who's starting out, or you're a map designer or maybe even a server owner, uh, font textures is one of the most interesting thing to look into because you see it everywhere. Looking around the Smith Summit, uh, even for like a split second, you'll notice it everywhere. The boards, the maps of the area are made using this exact method. So it's definitely something worth looking into. As you can see on the little conversion here, it uses something called Unicode characters, which are in-game Minecraft characters. Um, so stuff like emojis or different kind of icons. We are able to retexture them or even create entire our own fonts to make sure we don't replace any existing characters in game and make everything compatible with what is already existing. What you'll see next to the title of the slide is also a little walkie-talkie we've prepared. It was quite a treat during our end event. We've used it pretty much everywhere. It was heavily used in our story progression and kind of communicate different information with the player. And players got to keep it after the end event as a little souvenir. And what we've used for it is a combination of models, which is something completely new and something we've never really looked into before. Um, so the 3D models was definitely also a learning curve. Although I didn't design this 3D model, I did get to texture it, and it was really, really cool. And similarly to what you'll see right now during this Summit event with the microphones, we used a similar technique to bring an animation to our walkie-talkie that allowed players to kind of speak into the walkie-talkie. And what we've used for it is custom components. So essentially item NBT, which is connected to data packs, which is something I've also got to work on during this event. Uh, Again, similarly to resource packs, I have never made a data pack in my life before the end event. So it was definitely challenging. And it turned out to be quite challenging, quite more challenging than resource packs as well. Uh, so for the end event, we wanted to create not only a custom stronghold experience and mobs, which I'll go over in just a second, but also custom loot and custom rewards for the player. Meaning we wanted to make sure that all sorts of pots and all sorts of containers people will find around the stronghold contained randomly generated loot uh, that would come from our own loot table. And that's exactly where data packs came in. Although designing a loot table is rather straightforward with online tools, what we found quite difficult was um, designing a loot table that was balanced and dispensed correct amounts of items and wouldn't dispense too many rare items as much as common items. What we've actually ended up doing was kind of taking a shortcut way, and we've modified the existing loot tables of vaults and trial spawners to bring this sort of balance to all the loot that was ejected and all the loot players got to collect. Uh, and for the actual pots and certain parts of the stronghold, there was also quite a lot of commands involved. It wasn't just data packs and trickery that we used, but also some uh, trickery with command blocks. For example, we've created quite a bunch of traps, including vex pots. So these were pots that would spawn vexes when broken, which kind of forced players to be careful with what they break, what they take, what they loot. We've also had a whole bunch of traps scattered across the stronghold that utilize commands. Uh, in terms of commands, we had to use quite long lines of commands to bring our mobs to life. So, to truly elevate the experience of the stronghold, we wanted to make sure that different parts of the stronghold and different difficulties offer different difficulties of mobs. We've spent quite some time playing around with attributes, with different components of items, uh, and all sorts of vanilla mechanics of the game uh, to create really cool custom mobs. And to be quite honest, this part was probably one of the easiest parts and something anyone here could probably recreate, to create some really cool custom mobs with custom items, custom weapons, and different kinds of behaviors. And this really kind of elevated the whole experience and made sure that the stronghold was difficult, not just for people who were wearing iron or diamond armor, but also for players who were fully kitted out with the right armor and had to face fully kitted out enemies as well. So, to kind of wrap it all together in one coherent shell, uh, I'll briefly talk about storytelling, which is something I got to work on as well. Uh, for those of you who don't know, or for those of you who didn't get to experience the full story during the end event, the end event was complete with its own kind of lore and interactive story that we've let the players experience. We've introduced them to archaeologists who were exploring the stronghold, um, and we encourage this interaction with the NPCs, who kind of guided the players through the whole thing. Um, so they would kind of they would introduce the players to the whole stronghold, and the walkie-talkies I talked about earlier were used to communicate with these NPCs. So thanks to the absolute amazing talent of our voice actors, we were able to bring these NPCs to life. We were able to make them actually speak. So they were able to truly interact with the player, kind of give them more insight into the stronghold, and truly deepen the lore of the whole place, and kind of make the players ask themselves the question, what really is the stronghold? Where did it come from? Which is the exact same questions we ask ourselves to this day with the vanilla stronghold. We've also used environmental storytelling to tell a story of an ancient civilization that created the stronghold, and using the NPCs and some smart dialogue, uh, and a whole bunch of trickery with the NPCs that my colleague Gemu is going to talk about soon. We've been able to bring this really cool storyline experience, uh, and really hype it up through the teasers and different trailers we've created. Um, so yeah, this was the creation of the end event. This was the design and everything that went into making this event feel alive. But truth is, none of this could be possible, and none of this would have functioned if it wasn't for everything that was under the hood. And onto the under the hood section, I'll give it away to my colleague Gemu, who will go into everything that made the event possible, all the functionality and everything that made it work, made it what it was. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, and say hello to Gemu.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for that, Lemming. So, to go over who I am again, my name is Gemu. I am the lead developer for the GinSMP, and I'm the one who handled the backend and development. Oh, wait, there we go. Backend and development for this event. And what I'm here to talk to you guys about is the makings of something like this, how we went from an idea to our finished event, and hopefully some tips on how you can succeed in your own endeavors. So, when making an event, one of the biggest things people tend to get wrong is their limitations. Now, don't get me wrong, being aware of things that are going to impact your development are important, but most limitations you're going to face are imaginary. They're not real. Minecraft is such a versatile game with so many developers, creators, and opportunities that if you take the time to find a way, there isn't much you can't achieve. Now, I can't predict what thing you'll be faced with, but I'm going to use our experience making this event as an example to show you how a lot of the time you can get around most of these issues. Now, in making our event, we had a few important things to wrestle with: the number of people that were going to show up, our server software, and our goals. Oh, there we go. So now, scale is one of the most important things to consider when designing any event. It's going to dictate how you have to handle most of the design work and will define the underlying structure of everything. It's important from the design of the rooms to prevent crowding, to the type of server you use to ensure there isn't lag. There's no point in the process that doesn't have scale as an important factor for it. For us, this was a pretty big hurdle. We had some experience already, as our survival server has, at points, averaged almost 100 players, and its past we've had player-held events hit over 150. For this event, we were expecting well over 200 players, and we needed to plan for that. Because of that, because of the player counts, our survival server has been on a software called Folia. For those of you who don't know, Folia is one of the only server softwares used for large survival servers. It allows Minecraft's processing to be split to help ensure that even at large player counts, the server doesn't lag. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing piece of software, but it comes with one major issue: compatibility. Now, Folia doesn't work natively with a vast majority of plugins. It only works with incredibly simple data packs that edit things like biome generation or loot tables, meaning we couldn't use most of the existing resources out there. The thing is, we couldn't just swap to paper or use some single-threaded Minecraft server software, as it would collapse under the flood of players we were expecting for the event. And from the start, we wanted to have things like custom bosses, mobs, and minigames. And for this, we would need a few things. For the Ender Dragon, at the very least, we would need a data pack. We could have tried to use a plugin, but we already had a data pack in mind. And with a plugin, we would have had the same issue: Folia incompatibility. For bosses, we needed the same thing. We would either need a data pack to have custom animated bosses, or a plugin setup like Mythic Mobs and Model Engine, again, neither of which would work on Folia. For these, we would also need custom resource packs. With the custom icons, visuals, music, and the voice lines that we added later, the resource pack was already becoming huge, and adding all the resources necessary for custom mobs, even though only a quarter of the players would be using them, would only further increase load times for everyone and the strain on people's hardware. Now, we could have accepted these limitations and worked within them. It would have entailed cutting our goals, simplifying things, and we could have kept everything on Folia, removed the custom mobs, cut down some of the features, and simplified the dragon fight. We still would have had a custom dungeon, maybe some simple minigames, but the event would have lost a lot of the features we had hoped for. And honestly, we almost went with that. If it hadn't been for the ambition of some of my teammates, Jin especially, and their eagerness to make it work, we would have settled for a simpler event. But instead, we challenged ourselves to find a way around it. Now, how we chose to overcome our issues was by sharding our server. For those of you who don't know, sharding is when you split your server across multiple instances and synchronize players' data as they move between servers. We couldn't find a plugin that did what we needed, let alone that would work as cleanly as we wanted and on Folia. So we had to make our own sharding system from scratch. This had to handle synchronizing data across around 14 or so servers we set up for the event, and do so quick enough that players wouldn't notice the load times. This would let us have the compatibility of paper while splitting the server to a point that it wouldn't collapse under the flood of players from the event. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe we still would have had an amazing event had we settled on staying within the limitations we were given. But it wouldn't have been nearly the experience we managed to make it, and it definitely wouldn't be something worth talking to you all about. And that's the important thing. If you really care about an event and want to make it great, you need to take your vision and not compromise until there's truly no other option. Minecraft is such an open game that there isn't much you can't build, as long as you take the time to figure it out. Now, after we overcame our biggest hurdles, we were able to focus on making the event even more vibrant. You've heard about it from other parts of this presentation. We designed our own music engine from scratch, allowing us to have unique music to complement the challenges and puzzles players were faced with. I'm actually really proud of this bit. I had to learn music theory just to make it work. We created our own system that let us have synchronized music for all players, no matter if they joined late. Because, fun fact, in Minecraft you can only play audio from the start, so joining partway through a song means players won't hear it. And for synchronized audio, like build up, it just didn't work. So this let us have custom songs for bosses, and we even built our own MIDI processing system, allowing us to take MIDI files and play them directly through note blocks live on the server, letting us add new songs without rebuilding the resource pack or increasing download times. We made the most of it by having some incredible musical artists from our community make tracks to really bring emotion to the player's journey. We also took our custom interactable NPCs and had some of our talented voice actors, some of which are in the audience today, bring life to them. We added sliding doors, unique eye of Ender animations, custom items, and so much more. Once we took the time to invest and make our event everything we imagined it to be, we were able to then make it more and create something we hadn't even imagined. Now, I know this has been a long panel, and honestly, you guys probably aren't going to remember most of what I've said here today. But if there's anything I want you to take away from my little spiel here, to make your next event great, it's this. For a good event, you really only need a couple of things. The first is good planning. Plan for the scale of your event and your goals. You can't efficiently work towards a goal that you don't have. And as we've discussed, knowing how many people you expect to have will dictate the foundation upon which you build everything else. You have to be aware of hurdles and don't take them as limitations because they rarely are. They're challenges you're going to have to overcome. And the more time you give yourself, the more you'll be able to achieve. And finally, don't be limited by what you know how to do. We've developed a lot of custom things for this, but you don't need to have a dedicated developer or experience in programming. There's tons of plugins, mods, data packs, and tools out there. And if you look, more often than not, you'll find something that fits your needs without ever needing to write a single line of code. And that's all I had to talk about. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me. And now I'm going to be passing it back to our lovely manager, Owen, who will be talking about the future of the GinSMP.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Gemu. And before we do touch upon what the future might look like for this awesome platform, I think, again, it's just worth reminiscing on the skills we had at the start to make this happen versus the skills we have at the end now that we've finished. So for everyone in the audience who isn't necessarily the most technologically minded people when it comes to development for data packs or resource packs or whatever it might be, you guys are all capable of building something like this, but it's worth surrounding yourself with passionate people who say or share rather that same vision as you do. So please, if you have a goal in mind, just find some like-minded people. And that's why I think a server like this in the first place is so special, because without the summit even existing in the first place, all of you like-minded people would not be here right now. So again, a massive thank you to the summit. Right, let's move forward to what is on next for the GinSMP. Now, you might look at this and see just some random stuff, and quite frankly, we don't want to spoil too much of it. But we've taken notes about the end events, and we clearly recognise the things that people really enjoyed and the things that people didn't enjoy so much. But one thing's for sure, the idea of basically having people or giving people experiences relating to what they enjoy and their sort of specialties in the game, like the redstone, the parkour, the PvP, the build challenges, all of that stuff. We want to mirror exactly the same experiences on the live server as well. So that's going to afford people opportunities, no matter how you play the game, to enjoy. So that's where a lot of our focus is being placed at the moment. Now, as Jin alluded to at the start, we are a survival multiplayer server. We are currently into just the first season or first part, if you like, of the server's life cycle. We've never had a reset. We've never had a wipe in the last 8 months. Now, obviously, to give people a fresh start, it's important at some point in time to make that decision to start again. But quite frankly, we recognise all of the history and all of the incredible hard work that has been put into by loads of people I can see in the audience, actually, to create their own communities, civilizations, nations, all of that good stuff. And we want to preserve that history because it is really, really special. And it comes such a long way in connecting people together. So we absolutely are going to keep that as well for future as well. Now, there is a rocket ship on the left-hand side. Bonus points if you can guess where that one's leading. You've got this fancy mansion house, some lovely posh sports cars, and a lovely sort of tranquil forest environment. We're not going to speak too much as to what those are alluding to, but you'll have to find out and see. But yes, I absolutely encourage you to hop on the server if you just want to meet some people and get chatting. But nonetheless, that is pretty much a wrap as far as we're concerned. So we're going to sort of open the stage to you guys, and if there is any questions in mind, please do fire them on forwards. And a massive thanks for everyone who's helped make this all possible. So thanks very much.
Thank you. What an amazing presentation. Thank you from the GinSMP crew. Thanks everyone for listening in chat and on stream. We do have a couple questions, and we'll be collecting them in a doc that is shared with the team. So let me just pull that up. All right, first question. How do you balance using data packs versus plugins for the tech for your events?
Yeah, so I'll take that question. So, for the most part, we tend to lean towards plugins. When we're using a server software that supports it, they can oftentimes be a lot more versatile and they can be a lot more performant. And so, especially since we use Folio, we don't have a lot of opportunity to use data packs. But there are some certain situations where they just work better. Particularly for the Dragon fight, we used a data pack because it was a resource that was already out there. There was an incredible one made. I'd have to pull it up to get the exact name of it, but it's something that already exists. And for things like the mobs, the loot tables, and that sort of stuff, a data pack just made sense. It was the best fit for what we were trying to do, and it's all about finding the best tool for the job.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I think that's very accurate. Even for the Summit server, we used like a bunch of data packs, but sometimes you got to use a mod to just make things work. I got another question for y'all. It seems like this was a pretty large budget here, so someone's wondering where the monetization comes in for being able to fund events like this.
I'm happy to take this one. So at the moment, everything we do is self-funded and it is fueled by passion. So there is not a penny we ask of anyone who hops on the server, and I think it would have been quite easy to rush to the conclusion when we got popular to start charging people lots of cash to help us progress. And as much as that is incredibly useful, we have decided to do it all ourselves, realistically. So, of course, a ginormous thanks to the people who share this stage with me for helping us out. The server infrastructure and everything we sort of developed is essentially the fruits of our own labour.
That's good to hear. Another question for y'all. How do you avoid creative burnout while working on your event? This is something that I know the Summit team could speak to.
Interesting. I might be able to take this one. So obviously, given the amount of things you guys saw me talking about designing, building, art, resource packs, data packs, all of it is obviously quite a lot of work, and um, burnout is not really a question of if, it's a question of when. Um, so truth is, sooner or later, when working on a project of this scale, burnout will most likely occur. Uh, the only way you can really handle is how you um, how you handle burnout. If you continue to push yourself and trying to kind of push through it, it's obviously not really the way to go. Uh, so during my workflow, I would often kind of dial back, go back and kind of change the things I focused on. Uh, in the case of like a severe burnout, I would often take on the things I really wanted to work on. Uh, because obviously the building part of it, the designing part of it, it wasn't just work; it was pure passion, and I really loved working on this event. And although some rooms and some designs were obviously more interesting and more enjoyable than others, uh, yeah, it's honestly a matter of how you really handle burnout itself. Uh, and yeah, with this kind of thing, I think it's always important to find something you're comfortable working with, even if it's something completely unrelated to the actual thing you're working on. And kind of dialing back, changing your perception, and changing your focus and focusing on something else for a little while can really help and help me working on the end event.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, I think the best thing you can do if you're suffering with burnout yourself, whether that's day to day life, work, or just trying to work on your passion projects, just make sure you have a social outlet and make sure you've got people that you can talk to and get support from. So a lot of my time spent helping out in sort of Jin's community is trying to put people's thoughts at bay if they are really struggling when it comes to stress or burnout, and just having someone to talk to. And I think I cannot, well, I can't state how important that is enough, really.
Very well said. Um, what are some issues that you've ran into while holding these events?
Uh, okay, I can talk about this one. Obviously, the event of this scale is truthfully bound to run into some issues. And by the end of preparing the end event, we were absolutely teetering on the edge of the deadlines and the release date, and still prepping things on the date of release. Um, so, truth is, there is a kind of acceptance factor to it. You cannot make a perfect event, no matter how hard you try. There is always gonna be issues that you're going to face. Some of the issues we had to face were, for example, doors that wouldn't open throughout the stronghold. There were a couple difficulties with certain challenges. So by the end of the event, people who were in charge of the build challenges and were trying to complete them got really stuck at some point. As it turned out, the builds were very complex. And to answer that, the way we kind of handle these challenges is by simply being flexible. So we didn't go into the end event having like a planned step by step what everything is gonna happen, how it's gonna happen, and when it's gonna happen. We were sort of more flexible, and we were prepared for the worst case scenarios. So we were ready to kind of take over, fix things, open doors, and a lot of the stuff had to be fixed on the run. Uh, but at the end of the day, I think if you ask pretty much any one of the players of our server who attended the event, they'll most likely say that they enjoyed it and that it was amazing. So uh, yeah, at the end of the day, it's honestly all about the whole experience, not just individual mistakes or obstacles. So don't let them slow you down. It's always important to be flexible with the stuff and uh, not be scared to kind of change things on the go.
Cool. I got a couple questions. I'm gonna kind of merge these together related to managing a team, about 25 people. So if you want to speak a bit to like, directing and managing a team of this size while running the event itself, and you know, how do you kind of keep people moving on the tasks that they're assigned to while, people are volunteering their time or, juggling like IRL and, in world work. So if you want to add a little bit of your take on the management side of that stuff, I think that would answer a couple questions.
Chitin, would you
I'll
prefer yourself or myself?
no, I can go a little bit, and then you wanna go a little
Wait,
after?
do it.
Okay, so when it comes to managing the event and the people working on it, that was my job. And I will say what went into managing everyone on the team in regards to this event, I think is it's a very unique situation because really it was just really the three of us working on the actual technical end, whether it's building resource packs, etc. As in we were like the main three that created it. And so when it came to making sure they got the work done, I would just really just sit in calls with them, help them with ideas, and critique or whatever whenever it was needed. If I thought something wasn't right or testing anything, I was always in those calls, helping out where I can and making sure things got done. So yeah, I mean, yes, we have a large team of people. I would say probably 25 or oh, wait, actually, no. Over 30, I would say, including the voice actors. Um, but yeah, in regards to the end event, it was really just the 3 of us. So it was very easy to manage on that end. But yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see all the parallels and the management side compared to Summit. Like, I think there's a lot of overlap in the type of challenges we had to face. So I definitely can agree with a lot of the points you made there. Um, let's
Yeah, we're
see.
also a very close, the dynamic of my staff team, I make it really important that we're all friends. And so this was all, a passion project with each other, but also something that we enjoyed creating together and spending time together as well.
That's really good to hear. What tips would you give to someone starting in content creation and Minecraft server making?
I know this is gonna sound super, super cliche. When it comes to at least making content, I think that it's first of all, one thing that's super important is making sure you're starting at the right time in your life. Don't rush it now. If you don't have time, or if maybe you're working, maybe you're in college, and you just it's not feasible at the moment. Don't force it. I do believe that, at least for me, things happen for a reason, and I think that that time will come when you're ready. So even though it doesn't work out now, doesn't mean it won't work out in the future. And I also think a really good thing as a creator is to go out there and be the best version of yourself, and you show the world who you are and what you bring to the table and your content, and that is what's gonna attract people, and also, relatability. If you share your story with others and maybe, your life while you're starting content, I think for me, watching other YouTubers, a big reason I support them is because I relate to them and I feel, close with them in a sense. But yeah, as far as server, as in owning a server, I would just say make sure that you have a good support system. You won't be able to do that on your own, and you shouldn't rely on just yourself to get it done. You should, make sure you make friends and you find people that, want to reach out, want to help, are just as passionate as you are, if not more, to help the server and community succeed. Make sure it's people you trust who won't just support you on a working level, but also an emotional one, whether or not you need, reassurance of what you're doing, or maybe things are getting hard and you're having, a creative block, to be supportive of each other. I know that a lot of communities, especially big ones, it's very work related. But as I said before, our dynamic in the staff team is very friendly, and we're always, trying to be there for each other and support each other. And that's a big part of the reason why I think, you know, our staff, I mean, in my opinion, are wonderful, and help with the server so much. We all care so deeply about it and work on it together.
That's nice. Very nice. I'm not sure how much details you want to divulge here, but a couple people are curious about the wipe with the new nations. So feel free to dodge this question if you would like. But some people were wondering when a wipe might happen and what it would affect.
So, we're still discussing what a wipe will look like, but we do know that we do not want to get rid of everything. We still want, in some sense of the word, to keep things around. We don't know what that will entail, whether it's your build staying on the survival server or something completely different, but we don't want your work to be put to waste. So that is one of our main things that we're gonna be focusing on, when opening and getting ready for season 2.
Cool. Um, how did you promote and gain a player base? There's an awesome staff that you all have, but it can be tricky to get a server going without the player base. So maybe you could speak a little bit about player base growth and how that led to scaling.
I did speak about this a little bit earlier. I think a lot of, players that came for the SMP and, were part of my community came from my first ever video talking about me becoming a content creator and, why I'm going on this journey, and who I am as a person, as a creator. And so, honestly, I think I got quite lucky, to be honest, to have such an active and loving community. Obviously, we did do some server promos, but I think by then I was very much established, with my community, and also on social media platforms. Um, so, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really know what else to say regarding that.
Yeah,
I
I
think it was
think
well said.
I think when you grow very, very quickly, you're gonna run into a million and one different hurdles at the same time, and that's the part that's quite challenging. So Lemming that you see here, Gemu that you see here, both of which entered this community very early on and sort of expressed their passions and their love for doing the sorts of stuff that they do. And that goes for the entirety of the team that works with us. And so the most important thing I think I can recommend, if suddenly you experience growth and everything scales up and gets dialed up, you need to try and build a team full of people who are passionate about what they do. And it's all well and good having a perfect resume or a perfect CV of amazing projects, but really, if you're going to do an event like this, you need people who seriously care about it, because it is a huge time commitment. And, we do it for the love of the game. Simple as that.
And I think that when you put yourself out there to people and you tell your story and you show them who you are, it makes them, they want to help. They want to support, when they believe in you and they want to, help you on your journey and they, can see and appreciate who you are and they want to be a part of that. That definitely was a big thing to why these two joined. They saw my video and they got to know me a little more and they immediately wanted to jump on and help in any way they could.
Yeah. Hello. I'll be taking over for RX here. Apologies for that. Another question is when getting help from the community, what went into selection and criteria?
Um, so as some of you may or may not know, we have a lot of Google Forms when it comes to staff related stuff. And and I mean, outside of the forms, when it comes to the interview stage, it is really about who you are. And, are you, you know, are you someone that I obviously can trust, but also someone I can see as a friend? And I know that might seem a little ridiculous. Why it shouldn't just matter whether or not you can see someone as potentially a friend. But for me, I if I can see you as a friend, I can trust you. And that's really important to me, trust. And so that's a huge part in the interview process. But it's not about favoritism either. It's um anyways, but it's also about, what do you bring to the community? Are you making a big impact? Are you a bigger play on the server? Are you helping people around the world? We pay attention to these things. We keep an eye out to look at potential staff members um and whatnot. Uh oh, and do you want to add on to that?
I think that covers most of the bases, honestly. But yeah, if obviously it comes with a huge task to trawl through, say, 200, 300 applications of people wanting to get involved, but also it's a blessing at the same time, because it reminds you of the scale of people who care, and that is a really lovely thing. And for us, unfortunately, we can only handle managing a team of so many people. So it's something that you slowly sort of iterate over time. And so, yeah, we are still slowly growing our team, and there are definitely gaps that need to be filled at the moment. So we're looking to expand the moderation team, for example, the people who are taking on the helper roles as well. And also, Jin over here is secretly, not so secretly, working on some role play bits as well with some very talented voice actors who you might have heard within the end event itself as non-playable characters. So all of this needs to basically just be allotted a bit of time and a bit of focus and a bit of love. And yeah, you just have to grow your team as the platform grows. And by doing that, you're finding people who share the same passion.
Yeah, awesome. Very interesting. Last question here, since we appear to be running out of time. As more and more events get hosted and presumably increase in scale, how do you keep the new player experience approachable? Is that a priority when making new events, or do they largely assume full knowledge of the server's history?
I could kind of
Uh,
explain this. So, even with the end event and the lore we talked about, and all the like storyline NPCs, all of it wasn't actually connected to the server. Although our server very much supports player-created lore and player stories, and kind of encourages people to create their own story within the server, create their own role play, their own kind of medium and their own world. Um, the end event wasn't actually attached to any of this. It was kind of a thing on its own, um, and it kind of started on its own as well. Uh, so with the end event storyline, we've kind of created a brand new storyline that wasn't related to anything previously, and we just made it smoothly transition between the standard survival experience to this kind of archaeology exploration minigame. Uh, so with future events, we obviously, if the future events are gonna have this storyline aspect or roleplay aspect of them, we'll most likely keep them relevant even for people who have recently joined the server. Uh, but obviously, if the roleplay thing and the roleplay plan kicks off as planned, I'm sure there'll be some events that kind of reference our the stuff we do on the socials, the roleplay stuff, and everything in between. But yeah, with any future events, making something that can be approached by new players is definitely gonna be one of our highest priorities. And for me, as a designer of many of the mini games and many of the experiences, I'll definitely prioritize something that's gonna suit both long-term players and players who are new to the server.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think this panel was a treat. It's really cool to have you guys here in the summit, have you here be part of our community. And yeah, thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you so much for having us. It means so much. I know it came very last minute, so it means a lot to be here and share what we worked so hard on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's great.
it is actually a massive inspiration as well, and I hope you recognise that for everyone on the panels, because as much as they've got something to talk about, there is a million and one other things to see and learn from as well. So I encourage everyone who's attended this panel, who might be from the GinSMP, to go around and seriously explore this place. Because it is awesome, right? And I only had the chance and the time to do so today, and I've spent my afternoon just marveling at some of the accomplishments. And I'm not from a techie background at all, so it's super interesting for me, especially. So yeah, massive thanks, Jackro.
Yeah, no. Thank you guys as well. Is there anything you'd like to shout out at the end here?
I think just a huge shout out to Summit altogether. In my personal experience, it just really showed us the possibilities of vanilla Minecraft, and it's gonna be super interesting discovering those possibilities and kind of digging in deeper into what's really possible. And I'm super excited to start working on this stuff.
Yeah, really, really cool. Thank you guys so much. Real quick to the audience over here, if you're looking for more summit activities, we do have a Q&A scheduled here in about 2 hours, all about role play servers from Call of the Wild. So if you're interested, make sure to mark that on your schedule. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I'll be seeing you here on the server.